It took me a while to understand that saying no and disappointing people was the reality of living, and that all the saying yes to every single thing anybody ever wanted me to do was not going to earn their love, but it was going to exhaust me and ultimately make me sick. And that's where I wound up. So Detours I made after I was finished with breast cancer treatment. And it was kind of the first time that I looked at my work, being my songwriting, my touring, my recording, all that career-oriented stuff, as being something I needed to not run to. Because it had always been this thing since I was little that I identified myself with. I identified myself as a musician, as a songwriter, as a productive person. And that, I think, sometimes became a great place to hide, to not deal with things. And when I had a really major kind of public breakup, and then I got diagnosed, and suddenly I was like fodder for tabloids, and the first thing I wanted to do was, sit down and start writing and make a record. And that is, I think, sometimes a distraction from actually holding an emotion, just really sitting with it and being in it and being sad and mad and all those things and being scared and make it go away. That song is really about having cancer. And, I'm a nice person. I'm a healthy person. How did this happen? The whole album, I guess, is just about the fact that as much as we think we control all the events in our lives, we really have no control over much at all. I had a lot of people after I made the record and was more visible, because I'd really kind of hit out at the farm. I had people coming up to me, like in Starbucks or in the women's bathroom at the airport, saying, I'm a cancer survivor, I had breast cancer, and talking to me about their experience. And it is an odd thing that the community of particularly breast cancer survivors, they find each other, and there is a common language there about nourishing and nourishment and self-nurturing and the lack thereof when it comes to women. We're born to procreate and to nurture on the breast, to nourish on the breast, and yet we're conditioned to never take care of ourselves. We put everybody first. We take care of it. We feed our kids. We get their sports clothes washed. We get them off to ballet, and at the end of the day, we fall into bed, and did we have a minute to ourselves? And we're taking care of our husbands, and we're balancing the checkbooks, and, all these things that may sound stereotypical, but they really are the reality of being a woman. And even as a working woman, you're working and you're doing all these things. And I kept hearing over and over again from women, I had to really learn how to take care of myself. I had to learn how to put my oxygen mask on first before I put it on my child or anybody else. And that song became sort of a mantra, and I still have a lot of women who come up and talk to me about it. And that is a gift to me. I mean, that is in no way, shape, or form an annoyance. I have a lot of sweet memories that revolve around the Detours record because my son, he was 3 months old. We had a crib bolted down in the bus, and he took his first steps at Ellen DeGeneres, and everything was about him, and that music felt important to me. Although it didn't jump off the shelves at Tower Records, it meant something to me, and we made it out at the farm, and I brought in Bill Bottrell for my first record, and it was very immediate. I was able to just really put it all out there, and I felt like I covered everything on that record. Having had President Bush take us into a war that nobody really knew what it was based on, and there was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of mistrust, compounded with, the Al Gore environmental, all that information coming out, and to be looking, in the face of a little 3-month-old and thinking, what are we going to do about what kind of world you inherit? Everything felt so much more immediate and so much more urgent, so the themes on the record are really from that place of feeling extremely open and vulnerable and wide awake. And then I handed it into Interscope, and they're like, it's a lovely record, but nobody wants to hear this kind of stuff. And so I was just like, ah, you know, but I still contend that there's stuff on that record that has, you know, has its place. To me, one of the gifts of music is that you touch on something. It is a touchstone, you know. It's something that resonates in people as giving voice to the common experience or the universal, the collective experience. And that's why music has meant so much throughout history, for giving a voice to like generations of people. I don't know what it's doing now because of the commerciality of it. Nowadays, your brand has to be so big that people go buy your stuff because you're larger than life. And that would be such a bummer for me. I couldn't handle it.